Alright, YouTube, how's it going today? It's Mo Sports Network here, down in my basement for once doing a video, and we're going to do a little bit of a special today. We're going to call it Mock Draft Mondays. So what we're doing here, just helping you guys, if we have a football season this year, we're going to, for you fantasy players, and this isn't these videos aren't necessarily for like your seasoned fantasy pros, but for people who, like, let's say bought into a money league and they're like, oh God, like, what am I gonna do? I know nothing about football. These are just gonna be different scenarios to help you guys out with your fantasy drafts. And I'm going to be throwing some advice to some of the other players, although on this Yahoo fantasy draft thing, a lot of the players will be auto-drafted, so I can't really critique them. But you see here, we're picking number 1 today. That's our scenario draft starting in about a minute 40, so I have time to ramble on a bit. Spoiler, I'm going to pick McCaffrey. I just think he will be the best player in fantasy football this year, or is your most sure bet, especially with Teddy Bridgewater throwing to him. But again, this isn't supposed to be like some super deep fantasy analysis. It's more just like a fun mock draft situation where I tell you guys what I would do, my thought process, and so on about fantasy. I've done a couple mock drafts. Yahoo grades them for you. I have A's and B's across the board, so Yahoo thinks my drafts are good. So I'm just going to give you guys some advice. Now, the first overall pick is a spot that has its perks and some not perks, I would say, very much so. You see all these players here. Let's say with the number 1 pick, with most drafts, you are picking first, and then you have to wait all the way until the 24th pick to pick again, as you see where my picks are at 24 and 25. So you pick back to back every time you pick after the first pick, but they are 24 picks away each time. So I'm going to let my clock tick a little bit once McCaffrey goes out to explain it. But let's say you have like the 6th pick, you'll be in the running for like a Michael Thomas or like a Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon, because I like taking running backs early. And then you would be like in the running for like a Miles Sanders or a Kenyon Drake or Aaron Jones, and that's going to be a pretty better situation than like a Christian McCaffrey and then like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like the next best player you can take. So it's a bit of a risk-reward kind of thing, and I know a lot of people don't get to choose where they draft. I'm going to go ahead and draft Christian McCaffrey because we're going to wait a while till our next pick. My players are going to be off to the side here. But yeah, that's kind of the situation with the first pick. I'm going to be doing 12 players. Zeke going, Saquon Barkley going second there. I have my camera blocking my picks for me down there, so I'm going to move it a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't mess things up too much. Derrick Henry 4th. That's a little early before Kamara for my taste. But how he played last year, nothing too concerning. Noodles here at 5th should take Alvin Kamara. Although I wouldn't mind like a Cook or a Mixon here at 5. I'm a really big proprietor of taking 2 running backs early. Dalvin Cook there's fine. DK, he's on auto draft it looks like, but he just had Alvin Kamara fall into his lap at 6. That's a good steal. But I think running backs are the hardest position in fantasy to get like really solid starters. Like last year, I wrote a whole article about how much of a disaster my fantasy was last year. Mixon going 8, I like. Tyreek Hill before Devontae Adams, that's fine. I wrote a whole article on my website, Mo Sports Network, or Mo Sports News. I forget what my website's called. Jeez. Miles Sanders 10th? That's okay. Kenyon Drake 11th, a little early, especially before Chubb and Jones and Eckler. That's okay, I guess. Arizona is going to be a better offense overall. Nick Chubb 12th. That's about right for him. But back to my article about how horrible my fantasy season went. I had Le'Veon Bell and Sony Michel. And Sony Michel was supposed to be like a top, or like a pretty like middle of the line pick you could get at running back last year, and he just didn't pan out. And so you want to get those running backs nice and early, so you have a solid, good 2 starters. So with the first pick, at least you can guarantee yourself a McCaffrey. Now with the first pick, I'm not saying you need to go 2 running backs, because for us, it looks like our options are going to be relatively thin, with Edwards-Helaire already going, and some like Josh Jacobs and going already, and Aaron Jones is likely going to be picked. So our best choice at running back, probably Chris Carson at that point in my eyes. So we might have to look at, we're going to get a receiver as well here. Receivers are second most important position behind running backs. But yeah, as you see, all of these people have gotten 2 players already besides me. So it's interesting. George Kittle here is an interesting thought as well, as Travis Kelce already went. I don't really draft tight ends that early because I like the 4th through like 7th round value this year with guys like Mike Gesicki and Mark Andrews. The guy for Las Vegas, who is he? Darren Waller. That's some pretty good value, but George Kittle is always going to do great things. And he's going to be consistent for you. George Kittle just went on, have to worry about making that pick. Another thing, you guys see Mahomes here. Unless you are in love with Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, I would stay away until like 5th, 6th round. That's another thing I'd have to say. Hopefully people in my league aren't watching this, my main league. So wide receiver, I have back-to-back picks here, so I have time to think about it. I'm definitely want a running back. I'm not going to take 2 receivers. I'm going to take Chris Carson here while thinking about the receiver I want. So I'm going to take Chris Carson with one of my picks. As far as the receiver goes, Godwin with Brady's interesting. I don't know how much I trust that. Galladay is going to be a sure thing with Stafford, I have to say. I'll see a lot of people already leaving the draft. I think Kenny Galladay might have to be my receiver 1. He's the number 1 receiver hands down in Detroit. And he's poised to have a really, really good year again this year. So I think I'm going to take him there. Although, like, again, you can, when you have one of those middle picks, like pick 6, 7, 8, those, like, picks I'm more envious of you to have, because you can select guys like, you can get your running back and you can get like a Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins or something along those lines, which is really nice to have. Or you can get 2 running backs. So I have my 2 starting running backs already. We have McCaffrey and Chris Carson, which is a solid 1-2 punch. I think Chris Carson is going to be a solid player this year, even with a kind of loaded running back room in Seattle. Not loaded, but lots of bodies there. Galladay as my wide receiver 1, I'm not too excited about, but I'm okay with for sure. A.J. Brown's a guy I like. We're not even going to get to worry about most of these guys. We're looking around like Devontae Parker range. I wouldn't mind Devontae Parker as my wide receiver 2 at all. Cortland Sutton is an exciting guy. Keenan Allen. So there are definitely options with my next pick. Mike Evans just went off the board. I think that's about appropriate. No one's done anything dumb. Like, I did a mock draft yesterday where, like, Jonathan Taylor went, like, 6th. That's about right for Mahomes. I think that's pretty much okay for Patrick Mahomes' range. I'm curious to see where Lamar Jackson goes. But yeah, that's pretty appropriate value. Like mid-3rd round. That's where, like, you can first take a quarterback. If you take one any before that, I think you're crazy. I took Mahomes in the 2nd round last year. I don't know what I was thinking. And I got Antonio Brown. So that was just a train wreck of a season anyways. Which is why I'm making this fantasy advice video. So you don't end up like me and don't take big risks. I'm like, oh, I think the really good quarterback's going to get me tons of points. The thing about quarterbacks is that they're going to get you a similar amount of points regardless, as long as you don't get a horrible one. Todd Gurley, 33rd. Okay, Nick. I think Todd Gurley's kind of, we all know he's kind of injury prone, but I don't mind that too much. DJ Moore, he's poised to have a really good season. What did DJ Moore had? He had over 1,100 yards last year. Hey, way to go, DJ Moore. AJ Brown, I'm excited for. He had over 1,000 yards last season. Finally, a wide receiver 1. Tyler Lockett, that's cool. Calvin Ridley, not the biggest Calvin Ridley guy. People are flying off the board. Mark Andrews in the 4th round. That's okay. It's a pretty appropriate value. And there's Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what the Colts. I think the Colts will probably favor Marlon Mack to start the season, although Jonathan Taylor's always been going above him, so what do I know? Lamar Jackson, the 4th round. I think that's good value. And then Lev Bell there, drafted by Stu. You never know with Le'Veon Bell what he's going to do. Oh, there he goes again. Stu left. Juju. They have some good receivers in Pittsburgh, but I think 4th round's about okay for Juju as far as he goes. Noodles back on the board, or on the clock. So yeah, it looks like we're going to get a shot at like a Devontae Parker. Amari Cooper, I'm buying kind of big on the Cowboys this year. I think the Cowboys are a really solid roster overall. Amari Cooper just went, though. I could get Terry McLaurin. He's a beast. He's going to be Dwayne Haskins' like only weapon. He's probably going to go right here, though. Ooh, that's going to put me in a weird position. Although I like Devontae Parker. There goes Terry McLaurin. So with my first pick, I think I like Devontae. He's going to be the best player, or the best receiver on the Dolphins, although Preston Williams is going to be nice. I still think Devontae is going to demand more catches than Keenan Allen, especially as an injury-prone guy like Allen. So I'm going to go Devontae. And then I have Zach Ertz sitting here for me for the Eagles. The only question I have about him is how will him and Dallas Goedert split snaps. But I still need a tight end, and I need my flex player. David Montgomery, I think, will be a thing for the Bears. I think DeAndre Swift will be a thing for the Lions as well. I don't want to double dip with Lions, though, necessarily. I think he's the best running back available, so I'm going to take David Montgomery. I didn't love that pick. Raheem Mostert's cool, but he wants to be traded, so we don't know the situation with him. DeAndre Swift, he's a rookie, especially because of COVID. I'm weary of that. And then the next best running back's Cam Akers, who I do not like. I don't like Cam Akers very much at all. So I think as far as running back goes, we're looking very good with McCaffrey, Carson, and Montgomery. So with our next pick, we're definitely looking tight end. So let me pull tight ends up we can be looking at as we monitor the draft. I really have been liking Darren Waller in my mocks. I like Gesicki a lot. Hayden Hurst, I think, will be a very interesting option in Atlanta. Austin Hooper in Cleveland, especially if what's his name wants out, David Njoku. He wants out, so that might be a clear option. So there are definitely options here at tight end. I did a mock draft this morning, which kind of inspired me to do this series, where I got Gesicki and Darren Waller, and that's just a nasty 1-2 punch at tight end. There's Zach Ertz, just went off the board. Robert Woods went off the board there. Again, nothing in this draft that's too like, oh my god, that's a horrible pick. So yeah, we are on the clock in 12 more picks. Cam Akers just went off the board. I don't know what to think about Rams running backs this year. Without Gurley, like Henderson, Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, that's going to be a weird backfield, and I'd stay away from all of them personally. Unless one like really falls in your draft. I took Darrell Henderson earlier in a draft, in a mock, and I didn't feel great about it. Russell Wilson just coming off the board. We might want to look at quarterback coming up as well as tight end. Good chance we could get like Deshaun Watson, Kyler. Those are top like high guys, but when you can get like a Wentz or a Rodgers or even like a Joe Burrow really late, that's interesting. Dak just goes off the board. There goes Kyler. Ty goes off. I think he's going to be pretty decent with Phillip Rivers this year. Darren Waller goes. That hurts. That hurts a little bit. He was definitely my guy with my pick coming up. So, Stefon Diggs, I really like him in Buffalo. He's like one of the better deep ball receivers in the league right now. And Josh Allen really likes to throw deep balls. There goes Kareem Hunt off the board. Deshaun Watson goes. A strategy I really like this year is avoiding quarterback, because I think especially with COVID, depth is going to be so huge this year. And I know quarterbacks are going to probably get COVID as well. Diggs went off. That hurts. But I just think depth all around is very important. As a Bengals fan, A.J. Green sitting there is enticing. There goes Michael Gallup. And my tight end position is going to be hurting because of this first overall pick. So I can usually get like a Mark Andrews and there goes Hunter Henry too. Ouch. That hurts a little bit. So I'm definitely looking at just depth for all my bench pieces, and tight end and quarterback as well. Evan Ingram. Oh geez, my clock is ticking. I'm going to go Josh Allen. You know, I've been talking about avoiding that quarterback early. I'm going to get my quarterback now. We're going to get Josh Allen. That Week 11 bye is hurting me too. I just noticed. I want to stay away from these two running backs. Same with Breida, same with Michelle. Ronald Jones is decent. I'm going to take a receiver. You know what? The Bengals fan in me is going to do it. I know he's very injury prone, but I'm going to take A.J. Green. I think when he's fully healthy, he's a top 10 receiver in this league, and I will stand by that. And on that dreaded Week 11 bye, he will come in and be serviceable, assuming he isn't hurt. Oh, let's go. My tax return was just accepted. Good stuff. Good stuff. Do your taxes, kids. Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz, all just selected. So I'm feeling good about the Josh Allen pick, given that all these quarterbacks just came off the board. So that's good. Shoney Michel, I stay away from him. I stay away from Patriots running backs to begin with. Because James White will just show up and he'll get 20 points one week, Michel will get 20 points, and then like Rex Burkhead will get points some weeks. It's a mess. So we definitely need a tight end coming up here. And who am I looking at? I really don't want anything to do with Gronkowski right now, to be honest. I just don't know about him. Hayden Hurst I like, and Mike Gesicki I like, and Hooper. So if one of those are in like the available guys, they're going to be roughly where I'm picking. So I think I need to take one with my next pick. And then we're sitting at 3 running backs and 3 receivers. So that's pretty good spread right there. And then we have our quarterback already, so we don't need to worry about that until later. There's a lot of good available backups. I won't get into backups too much at the moment because I'll talk about it when we get there. Wow, we're already 20 minutes into the video. Time flies when you're drafting. Darius Slayton just goes. The Giants receivers are kind of a mess this season too. Sorry, I touched my phone. My battery was low and it had to let me know. Damian Williams, him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is interesting, that split. I like Ronald Jones a lot this year. Him and Keyshawn Vaughan's both Bucs running backs going back-to-back in this draft. Keyshawn Vaughan's another guy I'm not sure about because of COVID. Evan Ingram just goes, so tight ends are still coming off the board. If Hayden Hurst could fall to me, that would be great. He had a pretty decent season last year with the Ravens. Despite being behind Mark Andrews. Or no, he's 349 yards as a backup tight end isn't that bad. He'll be the starter in defense is coming off the board. Oh, these must be auto drafts. I would stay away from defense until at least the double-digit rounds, and we're only in round 8. That's just my philosophy. If you get the right defense, like the Patriots defense last year, they can win you games. But I don't think there's a defense like that this year, besides maybe the Patriots again. Okay, let's see here. So Gronk just went off the board. Did Hayden Hurst go? Am I just not looking? Yeah, 93rd he was taken just now. Okay. So I'm definitely taking Mike Gesicki with one of these picks so I can have that solid tight end. And then who else? Just like a solid depth guy. Probably at receiver because we know that Parker and Green are both sort of injury prone. So who would that be? I always like Julian Edelman. He's always a solid guy. I don't know how I feel about John Brown now that Stefon Diggs is added to the Bills. Marvin Jones, I already have Galladay, so I'm not really going to do that. I think Edelman's probably the pick here. I'm definitely not against Julian Edelman. Tyler Boyd's nice too, but as a Bengals fan, I know it's probably not good to double dip Bengals. It hurts you a lot. So I'll go Julian Edelman. He's projected less yards with N'Keal Harry and Mohamed Sanu. But I think he'll be a safety blanket for Cam, and especially if Jarrett Stidham has to start, he's going to be living with Edelman all day as just a guy who's just good at catching the football. So we have 4 bench pieces left to get, and a kicker and a defense. I always like to get a second quarterback and a second tight end. So we'll probably go just a combination of receiver, running back, tight end with the next 3 picks. And then we'll probably round it out with defense, quarterback, kicker. And that should do it for the this draft. So James White just being selected again, a Patriots running back. It's always interesting. With the kickers going off the board, these are auto-drafted guys. A lot of people left. We only have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have like half the draft in here still drafting. But they're still taking players off the board, whether it makes like actual sense for them to or not. Noodles is back, so maybe that's 7 now. There's Tom Brady around pick 100. That's not horrible. I don't know what to think about him on the Bucs, especially with the COVID situation. Will Lutz. I don't know why I just said Will Lutz. He's a kicker. Kickers are pretty much the same. If you can't get Justin Tucker, you're going to just get like the same kicker as everyone else. Typically, unless you really want to look deep into kickers. I don't, because I'm more of a casual fantasy player. But if you want to look at those analytics, like New England at 107, especially after, like we're in the 9th round, so still a bit early for my taste, but not horrible. Like those other defenses taken, I think, are a lot worse than New England's, in my opinion. I feel like I should explain the Josh Allen pick a little more, because I took him before guys like Drew Brees, before guys like Carson Wentz, guys that you think are a lot better than Josh Allen. Looking at his rushing yards, he had 510 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns in 2019. Now, he won't necessarily duplicate that, especially with better receiving weapons, which should bump his passing yards up here, like it says. His passing touchdowns should probably go up, and he's still going to get rushing touchdowns. I'm a big Josh Allen believer this year. He has the physical tools, and now that the team is getting even better around him, I think Josh Allen's a pretty decent pick, especially in like the 6th or 7th round whenever I took him this year. Justin Jefferson off the board. I think that's a bit early for him, but that's okay. He'll be the 2nd receiver in Minnesota, probably. Christian Kirk, is that Deontay Johnson? Yeah, and then J.K. Dobbins at pick 113. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is going to be a beast. I don't know if right off the bat he will be, but when like some of your other running backs have buys, I think he'll be going by that point. John Brown, Marvin Jones. So we're getting a little thin at like quality position players. No one here is really sticking out to me as like an, oh boy, I hope they fall to me kind of player right now. Especially Kerryon Johnson and Marlon. I know Marlon Mack already went. Those two, I'm really gun-shy about both of them because of the DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor situations. I'm also with Mark Ingram. Those three guys I'm a little nervous about. So my picks coming up, going back to tight ends, I see Austin Hooper still sitting there. He's probably going to be a beast for Cleveland with Njoku wanting out. So I might opt for him and then best other available offensive player. With Mostert wanting out of San Fran, Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon are the two most viable options there. Don't really want Latavius Murray. Jamison Crowder is going to be a thing in New York without Robbie Anderson. So he's an interesting guy. He gets injured a good bit. I'm going to take Hooper there as my backup tight end. I know it's kind of early for a backup tight end, but I don't love any of the value anywhere else right now. Mike Williams is still sitting here. I didn't notice that. Especially if Keenan Allen gets hurt. He had over 1,000 yards receiving last year, and that was with barely any touchdowns. So I think he has the upside to do like what these numbers are saying he's going to do with how tall he is. So I'm okay taking Mike Williams here at this pick. So with my last picks, I'm going to go running back in some capacity, quarterback, and then kicker defense. I'm pretty happy how this is going so far, especially with the first pick. Your like your second and third round picks don't look as good as a lot of other guys do. But the fact that we just have Christian McCaffrey is probably going to win us some games anyways. It's going to rate us. It's going to give us a good rating because a lot of these guys aren't here to draft. They're just letting it auto-draft for them because they don't care what their kickers and defenses they get are. They just want to draft like the first 4 rounds and see what they do. And that's cool, but I just want to show you my mentality for an entire draft. A lot of these guys are really interesting. I'm pretty good. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 receivers. I think 5 receivers is okay. And then we have only 3 running backs. Oh, geez. I hadn't noticed that. Okay, so we definitely need another running back. And quarterback, I might wait even longer. I'll do defense and running back. I'm going to try that for this. Who are the running backs who are left? Alex Madison. He'll be a thing if Dalvin Cook gets hurt, which he's been known to. I'm not a Tony Pollard guy. Zach Moss will be cool. He's going to be like their Frank Gore this year. I'm not taking Tariq Cohen just because I'm going to hope David Montgomery does his thing. Naheem Hines. Justin Jackson might be cool for LA. Yeah, we're kind of thin at running back at this point. I'm a big Benny Snell believer this year. He went to my high school, so that's kind of has to do with it. But Jalen Samuels kind of scares you off him. But Chris, what's his name? There's Jalen Samuels down there. James Conner gets hurt a lot. And I know he only had 426 rushing yards. Looking at what Jalen Samuels is projected, lots more receiving. So if Conner goes down, Snell will be a feature back. And the only reason I would need Snell would be on one of these bye weeks. What's his bye? His bye week's 8. You have McCaffrey 13, 6, and 11. So he would work on one of the bye weeks. I think that's a little early for Benny Snell. Madison went off the board already. Joe Burrow just went. He was going to be my backup. But yeah, I guess it's a little late for him. Jamison Crowder 139 I think is a great pick for DK. That's pretty good value for him. Robbie Gould goes. Devontae Freeman, he's not on a team right now, is he? I don't think he's on a team currently. I think Devontae Freeman would be a great pick right here. I just don't know what his stance is or what team he's on. Chase Edmonds, with him and Kenyon Drake, he's probably gonna get snaps. Between them and Eno Benjamin, man, that's tough. That's a tough selection. I'm gonna go defense here so I can think about my running back more. Kansas City. When your offense is on the field all the time, you're keeping your defense off the field. So I think I'll take Kansas City's here. Don't need too much thought into the defense, ideally. And then I really need another running back. I don't want Tariq Cohen. Duke Johnson. If David Johnson gets hurt, I took Duke Johnson last year and he let me down a good bit. A.J. Dillon for the Packers. Gio Bernard. Gus Edwards, Damian Harris. I mean, Duke Johnson's going to do stuff for you every week, so I'm going to pull the trigger on him. But I wasn't in love with any of those picks. If this was a real draft, good chance Duke Johnson would have been dropped around week 1 for another one of these guys given an injury. But I'm just going him right now. So then the last picks we're looking for are kicker and backup quarterback. I guess we can talk about backup quarterbacks for a little bit. If we're looking here, there's some solid quality options. You got Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was a very good fantasy quarterback last year. You got Jimmy G, guy I'm a big fan of. Did he already go? Yeah, Drew Lock is already gone. No, he just went off the board. Okay, good for him. He's a guy I've been getting late as my backup quarterback a lot. But Drew Lock going 148, cool. Mecole Hardman, I know someone who knows him. That's not that cool. You know someone who knows him. Yeah, there goes Jared Goff. So all the backups quarterbacks are coming off the board right now. Cool. Phillip Rivers. It's kind of just a pick a guy you like. I might go with Dwayne Haskins. I think he's kind of due for a pretty good year. Just with more time with Terry McLaurin. I think Haskins is too talented to suck 2 years in a row. Although if Daniel Jones makes it, I don't think I can pass up on him given his fantasy numbers last year. He's not a good quarterback. But fantasy numbers wise, he was one of the best there is last year. He's led the most 30-point fantasy games last year other than Lamar, if I'm not mistaken. There's Michael Pittman. He's going to be good for Indy this year. He's going to be their number 2 if I'm not mistaken. It looks like pretty much everyone's off at this point. The only reason I'm still on there, there goes Daniel Jones. So I'm probably going to opt for Haskins. Though 2 was an interesting case. I won't do it. There's a good chance Tua just won't play this year. There goes Eric Ebron. Matt Gay. Yeah, kicker's not a big deal for me. Just looking at these guys, they're all projected pretty much the same amount of points. I rocked out with Joey Sly most of last year. He served me pretty well in a losing effort, mind you. But Joey Sly wasn't the reason I was losing games. All of these kickers can serve you well. The only one who should be going before the last couple of rounds is Tucker, in my opinion. Dang, this video's long. Hopefully you guys have been sticking around watching it. We're going to end up around 40 minutes. That's okay, though. I just realized that guy who was drafting before me, his name was Thong. Or after me, 2nd overall. To recap, I'm pretty okay with a lot of this. AJ Green was kind of a suspect one, just because he gets injured a lot. Duke Johnson, I'm not completely in love with, because some weeks he'd be really good and some weeks he'll get you 4 points, just off of receiving. And then David Montgomery, he kind of let me down last year a decent bit, but he really picked it up at the end of the year, and I think with I think Matt Nagy coaching for his job is kind of counting on, he's going to run the ball more. They threw way too much last year for what that team was. So we're back on the board in 2 picks. Younghoe Koo off the board. I'd like me some Younghoe Koo. I've been saying a lot here. Again, none of this is like that big a deal. These projections don't really matter too much. Michael Badley, Kamai Fairburn, Jake Elliott's cool, Mason Crosby's cool, Jason Myers. Brandon McManus kicking in Denver. He can kick some long ones there, just for playing in Denver. He's a pretty decent kicker. I'll go McManus. Why not? And then with my other pick, backup quarterback, I already talked about it. I'm a Dwayne Haskins believer. All these guys will serve you well for the most part. Jimmy G, Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, they'll all be good picks. I'm just gonna. You know what? Jimmy G's sitting there. I think I have to take him. I'm a big Haskins guy, and I'll tell you I like Haskins, but I think it's hard to pass up on Jimmy G with your last pick in the draft. It looks like everyone's off by this point. So that is our whole draft. Looking at it, we'll look at in order we took players, and after we're done here. But I'm pretty happy with this draft overall. I think I've had better ones, but first overall, again, you miss out on a lot of that early talent because you're getting the best player, or because you're getting Christian McCaffrey pretty much. Unless you're like a huge Saquon or a Zeke supporter, McCaffrey's pretty much going to be your first pick. And so that's the position you put yourself in. But I think we recovered fairly nicely, especially with Carson and who else did we get in our second round? Carson and Golladay. I think that was a pretty nice recovery. I think the weakest part of this team is probably going to be the receivers overall, but I think we got a lot of them to mask that. And then obviously the defense and kicker is not going to be the best, but someone just took Cincinnati's defense with one of these picks. Maybe that's their second defense they took, but like Cincinnati's defense should not be going in any drafts this year. So Kansas City's defense will be serviceable, just because their offense is going to be on the field so much. And then kicker you don't have to be too nervous about, I don't think. And backup quarterback's always a mess, but you can always switch them out in free agency. These guys are always going to be here. Yeah, I think these are just auto-drafted like second defenses, which I don't know why the Yahoo does that, but it did. So last 2 picks going off the board here. Just waiting for it to be done. Hopefully you guys found this video entertaining. I had a fun time doing it. Hopefully I can be doing this multiple times. Doing mock draft Mondays. This is going to come out on a Monday. So yeah, that's hopefully that'll happen every Monday coming up to this upcoming season. So that is it for the draft. I'm going to click on my team. Let's go in order, draft results. That's every round. What's this, the draft grid? Oh, it's saying how many players we have at each position. I don't know why it's saying I only have 1 flex player. I guess everyone will have 1 flex player, that's whatever. Yeah, a bunch of people took 2 defenses. I don't get that. There's the board. So here are my picks. And there's everyone's picks, for that matter. So McCaffrey 1, Carson 2, Golladay 3. That's pretty solid. And then we got Devontae Parker at 4 and David Montgomery at 5. I think that's a little early for him, but I'd group him around this like Mostert, Swift, Singletary, Akers kind of group. I think that's a fair pick for what Montgomery is. Then we took Allen. Allen was I guess it looped back to us here. So he was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was the 7th quarterback taken, and I think that's about right for Allen. And then we took AJ Green. he's injury prone. I think I group him around Landry, Hollywood Brown, Will Fuller for what he is. Definitely better than Darius Slayton overall. Then some defense started to go. Disagree with that, but they think they were just auto-drafted teams. Then we got Mike Gesicki, Austin Hooper. They probably went a little close to each other, but I think as far as this draft would go, I would have one of these stronger tight end rooms. Like Kittle Hawkinson's going to be tough to beat. This guy only has Hayden Hurst. Kelsey and Gronk's going to be good. Nah, that's not better than me. That's probably not better than me. Waller and Ingram's going to be decent for this guy. This guy only took one. Yeah, I think besides those couple guys I mentioned, we have the best tight end room in this draft. And Mike Williams, again, pretty much the right value for him. I think he's going to definitely be better than 1, 2, 3, 4. I think these 5 guys who went, probably 6 guys who went right before him, assuming I got that order right. Yeah, I did. Wait, so these are paired, these are paired. So these are pairs. So this is going this way. Okay. So yeah. Okay, yeah, okay. Sorry, I was rambling there. So there's Mike Williams, and then there's Judy, Jamison, okay. And we took Duke Johnson. Didn't love the Duke Johnson pick, but pretty much no running backs left. I think for what he is, he's fair at that point. Then McManus and Garoppolo aren't that big a deal. So that was our first mock draft Monday. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing my face on a video again. I haven't seen that since mock draft day, or actual draft day. So hope you guys enjoyed all of that. Hope you guys enjoyed my input. And we're going to be doing some different positions, like picking last in the draft, picking right in the middle, and it's going to be a real fun one. We're just going to eat that draft up. Just do a couple scenarios. I'm going to do my real draft either this week or next week, just given COVID, making sure we can do one for fun as a group. So I'll probably put some content on that coming out. But this is me here for Mock Draft Mondays, and I will see you guys next time. So peace out.